Season 12, Episode 15 of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta does not simply open with drama. It opens with an earthquake. A crack in the foundation of a marriage, a fracture that had been forming quietly, secretly, invisibly, until the very moment it exploded into the open, leaving Lil Scrappy and Bambi standing on opposite sides of a truth too heavy for either of them to ignore. From the very first minute, the episode feels different. There is a tension in the air, a heaviness that hovers around the scenes like a storm cloud waiting for thunder. Longtime viewers of the show know drama, breakups, reconciliations, friendships torn apart, families forged again. But this? This was something deeper. Something that did not just shake the cast, it shook the entire culture of the show. Because this time, the drama wasn't just a fight. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a petty disagreement over words exchanged in the heat of the moment. No, this time, it was a revelation that threatened the very identity of a family. A revelation that ripped through trust, loyalty, and love like a blade. A calm beginning before the storm. When the episode first begins, there is no sign of the chaos to come. Scrappy and Bambi are shown doing what they've always done in the midst of their turbulent relationship, trying to keep life normal for their children. The cameras capture them moving through their morning routine. Preparing breakfast. Helping the kids with their clothes. Trying to keep smiles alive. Trying to maintain peace. Trying to hold on to a sense of normalcy. To the outside world, it looks like a couple trying their best. Trying to co-parent. Trying to heal. Trying to simply survive the challenges that life has thrown their way. But beneath the surface, beneath the smiles and the practiced patience, something is brewing. Something is tightening its grip around Scrappy's chest. Something he hasn't been able to shake for months. The producers hint at it subtly at first. The camera lingers on Scrappy's expression, his eyes distant, almost haunted. There is a heaviness behind them, the look of someone carrying a secret, or worse, preparing to reveal one. And then, slowly, piece by piece, the truth begins unraveling. The discovery that changed everything. Scrappy sits down to address something that had been gnawing at him for far too long. Something he had tried to ignore, tried to rationalize, tried to brush aside, but could no longer. He explains to the camera. For a while now, my credit card statements ain't been adding up. At first, he thought it was nothing. Little charges here and there, things that seemed like everyday purchases. A small amount at a boutique. A random transaction from a spa. A charge from a designer brand he didn't even recognize. Nothing huge. Nothing alarming. Just, strange. Then the amounts began to grow. A few hundred. Then a couple thousand. Then tens of thousands. And each month, the charges multiplied. Scrappy recalls the moment when he first felt something was terribly wrong, when he saw a charge that he knew, without any doubt, he had not made. His reaction? Confusion. Annoyance. But not panic, not yet. He assumed it was fraud. People get their cards hacked all the time. He contacted the bank. Filed a report. Asked them to freeze the card and issue him a new one. Problem solved, so he thought. But then, the new card started showing the same kind of charges again. Different dates. Different amounts. Same strange pattern. And this time, it didn't take long for the numbers to climb into a realm that felt impossible. He sits back during his interview, frustrated, exhausted, reliving the moment he saw the final accumulated number. $1 million. $1 million. Not a rumor. Not an exaggeration. Not fictional drama. Real. Irrefutable. Documented. $1 million gone, piece by piece, over years. He says quietly. That number, it punched me in my chest. I ain't gonna lie. I sat there looking at it like, this can't be real. The questions that haunted him. Scrappy began to examine every last charge. Every date. Every transaction location. Every recipient. Every detail. And as he did, something horrifying became clear. The charges were not from strangers. Not from random hackers. Not from someone stealing his identity. They were organized. They were consistent. They were tied to specific places. Luxury boutiques, wellness centers, travel sites, high-end beauty services. And all of it pointed to one person. Bambi. His wife. His partner. The mother of his children. The person he trusted with everything. The moment the truth set in. He describes the feeling. It was like my heart fell out my chest. Like, the one person I trusted more than anybody, was the one doing it. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It wasn't about the money, even though $1 million is life-changing. It was the principle. The violation. The secretiveness. The deception. He had always seen himself as a protector, a provider. Someone who gave his family what they needed. Someone who made sure his kids never had to go without. And now, that role felt shattered. He begins to rethink every moment in their marriage, every time he handed her his card to take care of groceries, pay for the kids' needs, handle emergencies. He remembers moments when she seemed stressed, withdrawn, emotionally distant. Moments when she said she needed a little time, or a little space, or a little help, without ever explaining fully why. And now he knew. Now it made sense. Now the math, both emotional and financial, finally added up. The confession to his inner circle. Before confronting Bambi, Scrappy needed to talk to the people he trusted most, his closest friends and family. Not to be dramatic. Not to seek attention. But because he was in anguish. In the scene where he shares the truth with them, his vulnerability is on full display. He tries to be strong. He tries to hold back emotion. But the pain is obvious. His face says everything. Shock. Anger. Confusion. Heartbreak. Betrayal. Exhaustion. And a sense of loss deeper than words. His friends are stunned. Some stare in disbelief. Others shake their heads, furious on his behalf. One friend tells him, "Bro, you gotta handle this legally. $1 million ain't no mistake." Another adds, "You can't just let this slide, Scrap. You gotta protect yourself." But Scrappy's response shows the heart of a father before anything else. "Man, I ain't trying to blow up my whole family. I ain't trying to hurt my kids." He's torn. He's angry. But he's also compassionate. He wants justice, but not destruction. This is the emotional war happening inside him. The confrontation, the moment of truth. Eventually, the moment arrives. Scrappy and Bambi sit down face to face, an atmosphere so tense it feels like the air itself might crack. He takes a deep breath. She sits across from him, unaware of the weight in his hands, the stack of statements, the printed transactions, the undeniable proof. His voice trembles as he begins. "We gotta talk." She looks at him, confused but calm. He lays the papers in front of her. And the silence that follows is deafening. He watches her eyes move across the pages. Sees her expression change little by little, from confusion to surprise. From surprise to disbelief. From disbelief to fear. She shakes her head immediately. This gotta be wrong. It ain't me." She denies it at first. She insists there must be a mistake. Maybe a mix-up. Maybe a bank issue. Maybe someone else used her name. But Scrappy doesn't move. Doesn't blink. Doesn't flinch. He simply says, "Bambi, it's you. Every purchase. It's all you. And that is when the moment cracks her completely. Bambi breaks down. After minutes of denial. Minutes of trying to find any explanation except the truth. She finally crumbles. Her voice shakes. Her hands tremble. Tears spill down her face. She admits it. She confesses. She says the spending wasn't about greed. Wasn't about luxury. Wasn't about wanting to manipulate him. It was about her collapsing under the weight of her own emotional struggles. She tells him, "I felt alone. Overwhelmed. Like I was drowning and nobody saw me." She describes the suffocating pressure of trying to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect public figure, all while fighting battles inside herself that she never spoke about. The spending became her escape. Her coping mechanism. Her only sense of control in a world that felt uncontrollable. Scrappy's reaction, a man shattered. He listens. He tries to understand. He tries to remain calm. But inside, he is breaking. $1 million gone. Trust shattered. The foundation of their marriage cracked open. He tells her, "It ain't the money. It's the trust, you broke us." His voice is filled with devastation, not rage. Because heartbreak, real heartbreak, rarely screams. It whispers. It trembles. It shakes quietly, the way his voice shakes now. The room felt emptier after she left, but the weight of her words stayed behind like a storm cloud pressing down on him. He rubbed his face with both hands, trying to steady himself, but nothing could quiet the chaos spinning in his head. Behind him, the door creaked open. Another voice entered, calmer, but colder. "I warned you this would happen." He turned around slowly. It was someone who had been silent through the entire confrontation, someone who had watched everything without stepping in. "You thought you could keep all of this hidden," they continued, walking toward him. "You thought nobody would find out. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Especially not yours." He swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" "Want?" They laughed under their breath. "This isn't about what I want. This is about what happens next." He felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Next? What do you mean?" They stepped closer, their expression unreadable. "She was the first person you had to face." They paused, lowering their voice. "But she won't be the last." His eyes widened. "Who else knows?" They smirked, a slow, unsettling smile. "Everyone." And for the first time, he realized the nightmare wasn't ending. It was just beginning. He felt the floor tilt under him as the word echoed in his head. "Everyone." His pulse spiked. His breaths turned shallow. He stumbled back, gripping the edge of a table just to stay upright. How did it get out?" he asked, voice trembling despite his attempt to control it. The other person didn't rush to answer. They walked around him slowly, like a predator circling prey. "You created too many enemies," they said. "Too many people waiting for you to slip. And when you did, they made sure the whole world saw it." His mind raced through the faces of everyone he'd wronged. People he lied to. People he manipulated. People who had been waiting for this exact moment. "But this doesn't have to destroy everything," he said desperately. "There has to be a way to fix it." They stopped walking and looked him dead in the eyes. "There's no fixing this," they said. "You didn't just break trust, you burned everything down." A knock suddenly hit the door, hard, impatient, threatening. He froze. The person beside him gave a cruel half-smile. "Looks like the next wave has arrived." His throat tightened. "Who is it?" They stepped back, folding their arms. "Open the door," they said. "And see for yourself." The knocking turned into pounding. Voices outside grew louder. And in that moment, he knew one thing. Facing her had been the easy part. What came next was going to be hell. The pounding on the door grew violent, each hit stronger than the last. Dust shook from the frame. His hands trembled as he backed away from it, shaking his head like a terrified animal cornered with no escape left. "Don't open it," he whispered. "We don't know who's out there." The other person raised an eyebrow. "Oh, we know exactly who's out there." Before he could respond, the door handle jiggled, fast, aggressive. A voice barked from the other side. "Open the door. Now." His heart nearly stopped. He recognized that voice. It was someone he never wanted to face, especially not now. Someone who had every reason to come for him. "No, no, no," he breathed, stepping farther back. The other person moved closer to him, speaking quietly. "You can't run from this. Not anymore." The pounding turned into a full-force shoulder slam. The door creaked. Another slam. Another. Wood began to split. His knees weakened. "What do they want from me?" he asked, voice cracking. The answer came instantly. Truth. Justice. Maybe revenge. They smirked. "Take your pick." Another thunderous hit. This time the door didn't fully rebound, it stayed partly cracked, hanging crooked on the hinge. A shadow appeared in the gap. An eye looked through. And the voice said, low and cold, "I know you're in there." He gasped, stumbling backward until he hit the wall. The person beside him took one step away, leaving him completely exposed. "This is it," they said softly. "There's no turning back from here." The door splintered with a final, brutal kick. And the moment it swung open, his entire world collapsed. The door blasted open with a deafening crack, slamming against the wall. Shards of wood scattered across the floor like broken bones. And then, the figure stepped inside. Broad shoulders. Cold eyes. A face twisted with betrayal, anger, and something far worse. He felt every drop of blood drain from his body. "You," the figure growled. "After everything, you thought you could hide?" He couldn't speak. His throat locked. His mind blanked. The figure moved closer, boots thudding heavily with each step. "You lied to her." Step. "You lied to me." Step. "You lied to all of us." The other person in the room leaned casually against the wall, watching like they were enjoying a front-row seat to a disaster. The figure stopped just inches away from him. "Give me one reason," they said, voice low and shaking with fury. "Why I shouldn't drag you out of here myself." He swallowed hard, forcing out a whisper. I made mistakes. I know. But I didn't mean for any of this." "Stop." The figure's voice sliced through the air like a blade. "No more excuses." They grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. The impact rattled the entire room. "You broke people. You ruined lives. And now the truth is out, everywhere. You can't cover it up. You can't lie your way out. There's no more running." He felt the grip tighten on his shirt, dragging him forward. "You're going to face every single person you hurt," the figure snarled. "Starting with me." He tried to push their hand away, but he was too weak, emotionally, physically, everything. The other person finally spoke. "Wait. Don't finish it here." The figure turned their head slightly, annoyed. "And why not?" The other person stepped forward with a slow, dangerous smile. "Because there are more people coming. People who want answers. People who want him alive long enough to confess." He froze. "More people. More confrontations." "How many?" he whispered. The answer was simple. "All of them." Suddenly, voices echoed from down the hallway, multiple voices, getting closer. His eyes widened in terror. The figure released him and let him drop to the floor. "Get up," they said. "This isn't over. Not even close." He tried to stand, but his legs trembled uncontrollably. The footsteps outside multiplied. Dozens. Maybe more. The other person leaned down, looked him straight in the eyes, and whispered. "Your reckoning is about to walk through that door." And then, the hallway lights flickered. Someone shouted. "He's in here." The chaos was just beginning. The shout outside the door sliced through the silence like a siren. The walls seemed to vibrate with the rising chorus of voices, angry, restless, fueled by betrayal. His breathing hitched. Every instinct in his body screamed run. But there was nowhere left to go. The hallway lights flickered again, once, twice, until the whole corridor pulsed with a dull, ominous glow. Shadows stretched like claws across the floor. The figure who had slammed him earlier stepped forward, positioning themselves directly in front of the door. "No one touches him unless I say so," they warned. Their voice was steady, but their hands were clenched. They weren't protecting him. They were claiming him. As if he was no longer a person, just evidence. A problem to be handled. A confession waiting to be extracted. The other person folded their arms and nodded. "Let them gather," they said. "Let them see him exactly as he is." His heart thundered in his chest. "Please," he whispered, barely able to form the words. "You don't understand. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone." "That's the problem," the other person interrupted coldly. "You never understood what your actions did to people. And now you're going to learn the hard way." The pounding on the door grew violent, like fists, feet, maybe even something metal. "Open it," someone screamed. "You owe us the truth." Another voice. "Coward. Come out." Another. "We're not leaving without him." He backed up until his shoulders hit the far wall. His legs kept shaking, threatening to give out under him again. The figure looked over their shoulder at him. "This is what happens," they said. "When lies finally run out of places to hide." Suddenly, the door handle twisted so hard it rattled. He flinched. The figure raised a hand, signaling silence. The room went still. Outside, the voices quieted for a moment. Then a commanding voice, one he recognized instantly, echoed down the hallway. A voice filled with leadership and disappointment. "Step back," the voice ordered. "I'll handle him." His entire body locked up. "No. Not them. Anyone but them." The figure looked surprised, glancing at the other person. "They're here," they whispered. The other person smirked, satisfied. "Oh, they've been waiting for this day." His pulse roared in his ears. The door slowly began to creak open, not from force, but from authority. A silhouette appeared in the widening gap. Tall. Still. Radiating a calm that was far more terrifying than anger. When the door fully opened, the hallway behind them was packed with people, faces furious, confused, devastated. But all eyes were on the silhouette. They stepped into the room. The air dropped 10 degrees. The figure and the other person both stepped aside, giving the newcomer full control. And then, they spoke his name. Quietly. Almost gently. But there was no softness in the tone, only judgment. He felt his knees buckle. "Stand up," they said. "We're going to talk." He tried, but he couldn't. The newcomer stared at him with eyes that saw straight through every lie, every excuse, every cover-up. "You thought you were done," they said. "But I haven't even started." The door behind them slammed shut, sealing the room. Everyone outside pressed closer, listening. And then the newcomer delivered the line that froze his soul. "Before everyone hears the truth, you're going to tell it to me first." The room fell into a tense, weighted silence. The newcomer, whose presence alone seemed to shrink the walls, took one slow step toward him. Every inch of their movement felt deliberate, controlled, terrifying. The others in the room stood perfectly still, like soldiers awaiting orders. He couldn't lift his head. Couldn't meet those eyes. Could barely breathe. The newcomer stopped right in front of him. "Look at me," they said. He tried. His muscles trembled. His throat tightened. "I said," the newcomer repeated, voice razor sharp. "Look at me." He forced himself to raise his gaze. Their eyes locked. The disappointment cut deeper than anger ever could. "You've been lying for years," the newcomer said quietly. "And you thought you could keep lying forever." He swallowed hard. "I didn't plan for it to go this far." "Stop." The newcomer didn't raise their voice, but the command hit like a slap. No more excuses. No more stories. No more pretending. Behind them, the crowd outside the door murmured, desperate to hear every word. The newcomer crouched so they were eye level, voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "I want the truth. The real truth. Not the version you rehearsed. Not the version you told everyone to protect yourself. The truth you've kept buried." His breathing quickened. His palms sweat. The room felt too small, too close, the walls bending inward. I can't," he whispered. "You will," the newcomer said. "Because once that door opens again, you won't get another chance." The figure who had slammed him earlier crossed their arms. "Just say it," they muttered. "Before they drag it out of you." The newcomer didn't take their eyes off him. "You've ruined relationships. Broken trust. Manipulated everyone around you. But that wasn't the worst part." They leaned closer. "The worst part was what you hid from the people who actually loved you." He shut his eyes tight, fighting tears he didn't want them to see. The newcomer's voice softened. "Not kind. But honest. You're not trapped because of what you did," they said. "You're trapped because you refuse to admit why you did it." A shiver ran through him. "Tell me," the newcomer urged. "What were you so afraid of that you destroyed everything just to hide it?" He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His pulse hammered in his ears. The newcomer stood up, towering over him again. "You want me to say it for you?" they asked. "Is that it?" He shook his head violently. "No, please." "Then talk." The air grew colder. The other person stepped forward, arms folded, smirk gone, replaced with something darker. "You didn't just lie," they said. "You built your entire life on a secret you hoped no one would ever uncover." He flinched. "Everyone out there," they continued, nodding to the door. "They already suspect. They're here because they want confirmation." He stared at the floor, breathing fast and shallow. The newcomer exhaled slowly, like they had waited years for this moment. "You owe them the truth," they said. "And you owe it to yourself." His voice cracked as he whispered. "If I say it, everything ends." The newcomer replied. "No. If you don't say it, everything already has." Another bang hit the door from outside. "Let us in," someone shouted. "We know he's talking." The newcomer turned toward the door, then back to him. "You have 60 seconds, they said. "Tell the truth, or I'll open the door and let them drag it out of you." His entire body shook. He finally whispered. Okay. I'll tell you." The room went silent. The newcomer leaned in. "Then say it." He inhaled shakily. Opened his mouth. And finally, he began to confess. His voice trembled, barely audible at first. I never wanted it to get this far," he whispered. "But I lied. I lied to protect myself. To protect the people I love. And somewhere along the way, I lost control. The newcomer didn't interrupt. They simply stood there, eyes burning into him, demanding honesty without judgment, yet every word carried the weight of consequence. I thought if I could handle it on my own, if I could hide the mistakes, the debts, the money, then nobody would get hurt, he admitted, voice cracking. I didn't think anyone would find out. I thought I could fix it before it blew up. His hands shook violently as he gestured toward the papers, the numbers, the evidence that had brought them all to this room. It started with a few purchases, he continued. Small things I didn't notice. Things I brushed off. And then, it spiraled. And I kept hoping, praying, that nobody would realize how far it had gone. The newcomer tilted their head. Nobody would realize, they repeated. You realize it's $1 million, right? $1 million gone, and you still call that small? He swallowed hard, swallowing the lump in his throat. I know, he whispered, almost to himself. I know. But it wasn't about the money at first. It was control. I thought if I managed it all, handled everything myself, I could keep the chaos from touching the people I care about. A pause. He looked down, fighting tears. But it did touch them. And it's my fault. Everything is my fault. The newcomer stepped closer. Do you understand what it means to break trust like this? To betray someone so completely that even the people who love you can't look at you the same way? He nodded. Yes. I understand. More than I can say. The crowd outside murmured, eager to hear the truth leak from his lips, but the newcomer held up a hand, signaling silence. This is your confession, not theirs. Say it all. Leave nothing behind. He inhaled sharply, eyes darting toward the door and then back. It wasn't just the money, he admitted, voice raw. It was the lies. The hiding. The pretending like everything was fine while I was destroying what we built. Bambi trusted me. I trusted her. And I broke that trust. I destroyed it piece by piece, and now I don't know how to fix it. The newcomer nodded slowly, as though they had expected nothing less. Good. Keep going. He swallowed hard, tears welling up in his eyes. I gave her access to everything because I trusted her. I opened up my life to her. My family. My finances. And I never imagined that it could be used against me. That the people I loved could hurt me in ways I didn't see coming. He paused, fighting to steady his voice. I wanted to be a good husband. A good father. I thought I could handle it all. But somewhere along the line, I failed. And now, the trust we had, the family we tried to hold together, it's gone. The newcomer leaned forward, their voice soft but unyielding. Look at me. You need to fully understand the weight of your actions. Not just the money. Not just the lies. But the relationships you've shattered. The love you've fractured. The people who believed in you and now can't anymore. He met their gaze, voice barely a whisper. I understand, he said, shaking his head. I understand more than anything. And I don't know how to make it right. I don't know how to fix what's broken. But I want to. I need to. I can't let it end like this. The newcomer straightened, taking a deep breath. Good. That's the first step. Saying it. Owning it. But saying it isn't enough. Now comes the part everyone's been waiting for, the fallout. From the hallway, the voices outside grew louder, more insistent, demanding attention, demanding justice. The other person in the room stepped aside and gestured toward the door. Go ahead. Let them in. Let the world hear what he's confessed. Let them decide what this means. He looked at the newcomer, panic rising again. No, wait. They'll hate me. They'll never forgive me. The newcomer's gaze was sharp. They already have their answers. You just have to be honest with them now. You've confessed to me. That's the start. The rest is unavoidable. He felt his knees weaken. His chest tightened. Every instinct screamed to run, hide, disappear. But he couldn't. Not anymore. The door creaked open slightly. And then, voices. All around him. Judgment. Anger. Fear. Disbelief. The room was no longer just a room. It was a tribunal. A courtroom of the people he had betrayed. And the reality hit him like a punch to the gut. There was no hiding. There was no escaping. There was no undoing what he had done. The door swung open wide, and the voices rushed in like a tidal wave. Family. Friends. Associates. Fans, every eye turned toward him, every judgmental glance searing his skin. He froze. They weren't there to negotiate. They weren't there to console. They were there to witness the truth, to watch the man they knew unravel under the weight of his own mistakes. The newcomer remained behind him, a silent sentinel, while the others closed in, filling the room with suffocating energy. One person stepped forward, an ally, once trusted, voice trembling with anger. "How could you?" they shouted. "How could you let it get this far without telling anyone? $1 million. Do you even understand what you've done?" He tried to explain, to justify, to ask for mercy. I didn't plan it. I thought I could fix it. But no one moved. No one listened. Another voice, sharp and cold. "You destroyed our trust. You destroyed your family. You think apologies fix $1 million betrayal?" He could feel sweat drip down his back. Heart hammering, chest tight. Every word was a blow. Every accusation dug deeper into his conscience. Bambi appeared at the edge of the room, tears in her eyes. Her face was a mixture of grief and disbelief. You used our family like this? Did our life mean nothing?" she whispered, voice breaking. He tried to reach for her, to explain, but the crowd parted like a storm around him. He was alone. Isolated. Exposed. A close friend, someone who had once been his confidant, stepped forward. "You had our trust. You had her trust. And you betrayed it all for, what? Control? Pride? Money?" The reality hit him like a freight train. It wasn't just about the money anymore, it was everything. Every relationship, every promise, every moment of loyalty had been tainted by his actions. He fell to his knees, finally. The weight of his guilt, shame, and regret pressing down with unbearable force. I was scared," he whispered, barely audible. "Scared of failing. Scared of letting everyone down. I thought I could handle it alone." The newcomer stepped forward, voice cutting through the chaos. "Fear is never an excuse for betrayal. You made a choice. You chose secrecy. You chose deception. And now, you face the consequences." Silence fell for a brief, suffocating moment, then an explosion of voices. Shouts. Screams. Tears. Demands for answers. Friends turned to strangers in anger. Allies became accusers. The world he thought he controlled crumbled into pieces. Bambi, finally finding her voice, confronted him directly. "How do you expect me to forgive this? How do you expect our kids to trust you again?" He looked up at her, chest heaving, tears streaming down his face. I don't know," he admitted. "I don't know if I can ever make it right. But I want to try. I want to fight for us, for them, for our family." The newcomer's voice cut through the room once again. "Actions, not words. If you want to repair this, if you want redemption, you will have to earn it. Every day. Starting now. The crowd slowly began to quiet, though the tension in the room never fully dissipated. The storm of betrayal had hit, leaving no part of him untouched. For the first time, he realized that the consequences of his actions were not just legal, not just financial, not just public, they were personal. Every trust shattered. Every relationship strained. Every bond fractured beyond repair. And yet, a flicker of resolve burned inside him. He had hit rock bottom. He had been exposed, humiliated, and betrayed by his own decisions. But from that depth, he could see a path, a narrow, difficult, torturous path, toward redemption. Whether he could take it remained uncertain. Whether his family would walk it with him remained uncertain. Whether the world would ever forgive him remained uncertain. But one thing was undeniable, nothing would ever be the same again. As the camera panned over the devastated room, capturing the pain, anger, and heartbreak etched on every face, the audience was left with one undeniable truth. This was not the end. This was the beginning of a reckoning. A reckoning that would define him, his family, and every relationship he had ever held dear. And in that moment of silence, amid the wreckage, the heartbreak, and the betrayal, he understood the hardest truth of all. Some actions can never be undone. The room remained thick with tension long after the shouting had subsided. The energy hadn't dissipated, it had simply shifted. Anger became stunned silence. Shock became cold, measured looks, and in the middle of it all, he remained on his knees, staring at the floor, struggling to breathe, struggling to think, struggling to face the reality he had created. Bambi sat on the edge of a chair, hands covering her face. Her body shook with sobs, soft but relentless. She couldn't speak yet, couldn't find words that would articulate the mixture of betrayal, hurt, and fear she felt. Her mind raced through the past, the trust she had given, the love she had poured, the moments of vulnerability she had shared, and now it all felt tainted, like a dream turned nightmare. The children were quietly ushered to another room, unaware yet of the storm swirling around their family. But he knew the truth would reach them eventually, and the thought crushed him. He wanted to run to them, to shield them, to hold them close and erase the chaos. But he couldn't. Not yet. The newcomer, still standing, surveyed the room. Their expression softened slightly, though the authority in their eyes never wavered. "You've said it now," they said. "You've confessed. But confession alone doesn't heal the damage. Healing is earned. Actions, not words." He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I know. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll make it right." The other person in the room, the one who had orchestrated the confrontation, stepped forward. "It won't be easy," they said, voice low, almost menacing. "Every day from now on will test you. Every relationship you've broken will demand proof that you've changed. And every step you take, people will watch." He swallowed hard, trembling. I understand. I'm ready to face it. I have to face it." Bambi finally lifted her face from her hands, tears streaking her cheeks. Her eyes locked on him, a mix of sorrow, anger, and lingering love. "Do you even realize what this means?" she asked softly. "It's not just the money. It's everything, trust, security, our family, the life we've built. You've shaken it all to its core. And now, I don't know if it can ever be the same." He rose to his feet, his body trembling, voice raw. "I know I've destroyed everything. I know it's more than just the money. I know it will take time, years, maybe, to rebuild. But I swear, I'll do everything I can. I won't stop. I won't run. I'll fight for our family, for our kids, for you. I'll make this right, even if it kills me trying." The newcomer's gaze softened, a hint of approval hidden beneath the sternness. "Good. That's the start. But remember, your journey isn't just about proving it to yourself. It's about proving it to everyone you've hurt. And some may never forgive you. That's a reality you have to accept. He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I understand. And I'll accept it. Whatever it takes, I'll face it. Bambi took a shaky breath, her voice quieter now, almost a whisper. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick. But, maybe we can find a way through this, together. If you're truly willing to change. He stepped closer to her, reaching out his hand, a gesture filled with hope, regret, and determination. I am. I swear. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again. I won't let this destroy us completely. The room remained silent, heavy with unspoken emotions. The anger, the betrayal, the shock, they hadn't vanished. But for the first time, there was a glimmer of something else, a fragile, tentative hope that maybe, just maybe, redemption was possible. Outside, the voices of friends and family had quieted, though the echoes of their judgment still lingered. He knew the road ahead would be long and painful. He knew the fallout wouldn't end tonight. But he also knew he had taken the first step, he had faced the truth, confessed his mistakes, and acknowledged the damage he had caused. And that, he realized, was the only way forward. The room was quieter now, but the tension still hung in the air like a storm cloud that refused to break. The shouting, the accusations, the tears, they had all happened, and the echoes of that chaos lingered in every corner. Yet amid the wreckage, something fragile had begun to take root, awareness. Responsibility. The first faint spark of accountability. He sank into a chair, exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. His body trembled, his mind raced, and his chest felt tight, as if the weight of the world had been placed upon him. For years, he had tried to shield himself from consequences, to avoid confrontation, to pretend that nothing would ever go wrong. But now, stripped bare, he understood that life doesn't forgive mistakes just because you wish them away. Life demands acknowledgement, and he had given it. Bambi remained seated across from him, hands still shaking slightly as she dabbed at the tears on her cheeks. Her eyes were red and swollen, a visible map of hurt and disbelief. But even in her sorrow, there was a flicker of something else, caution, curiosity, perhaps a glimmer of hope. She had witnessed the confession, heard the remorse, and seen the raw truth laid bare. Whether that truth would be enough, only time would tell. The newcomer remained standing, observing the two of them carefully. Their presence was both a warning and a guide, a reminder that the past could not be erased, but the future could still be shaped. "You've faced the truth tonight," the newcomer said, voice calm but firm. "You've confessed, acknowledged the damage, and begun to take responsibility. That's the first step. But understand this, it's only the beginning. Redemption isn't a single act. It's a process. And it will test you every day." He nodded slowly, words caught in his throat. I know. And I'm ready. I have to be. For them, for her, for my family. Bambi finally spoke, her voice steady but cautious. Actions matter more than words now. I can't just pretend everything is okay. Trust. It doesn't rebuild itself overnight. If you're serious about making this right, you'll have to prove it. Every day. Without excuses. "I understand," he said, eyes filled with determination. "I'll do whatever it takes. No shortcuts. No lies. I'll earn it back, even if it takes a lifetime." The newcomer's gaze softened slightly, a rare acknowledgement of hope. "Good. That's what you need to remember. The people you've hurt will watch closely. Some may forgive, some may not. But you have a choice, let the past define you, or let it guide you toward being better." For a long moment, silence enveloped the room again. It was not comfortable, but it was necessary, a space to absorb the enormity of what had just occurred, and to consider the path forward. Then, slowly, Bambi reached out a hand. Tentative. Hesitant. A bridge. One step at a time, she said softly. If you truly want to make this right, we'll take it together. But don't expect forgiveness to come easy. It has to be earned. He took her hand gently, feeling the warmth and tension in the grasp. I understand, he whispered. And I'll spend every day proving it. I won't let you down again. The newcomer nodded once, satisfied that at least the first step had been taken. Now begins the real work, they said. Not just for you, but for everyone affected. It will be long. It will be painful. But it can be done, if you are committed. As the door closed behind the others, leaving them alone, the room felt lighter in comparison to the chaos earlier. Yet the air was still heavy with emotion, regret, sorrow, but also a fragile sense of hope. He and Bambi sat in silence for a moment, hands still intertwined, each processing the enormity of what had happened and what lay ahead. He realized that redemption would not be instantaneous. It would be a series of small, deliberate choices, actions taken every day to repair what had been broken. Trust would need to be rebuilt brick by brick. Relationships would need to be nurtured, and accountability maintained without fail. Mistakes could never be erased, but the path to healing had begun. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to imagine a future, not a perfect one, not free from challenges, but one in which he could try again. And in that imagined future, he saw the possibility of reconciliation, of mending the bonds that had been shattered. The journey ahead would be difficult, and the consequences of the past would not disappear. But tonight had marked a turning point, a confrontation with truth, a commitment to change, and a fragile first step toward redemption. And as he looked at Bambi, the woman he had hurt most, he understood the hardest truth of all. Trust, once broken, could never be fully restored, but it could be rebuilt, slowly, carefully, with patience, honesty, and unwavering effort. The chapter of betrayal had ended, but the story of redemption, and the struggle to reclaim what had been lost, was only just beginning. The storm had passed, but the air still carried the weight of what had been broken. The chaos, the betrayal, the shattered trust, they were all still there, like cracks in the walls of a house that had barely survived a hurricane. Yet amid the ruins, there was light. A fragile, flickering light. Scrappy sat quietly in the living room, Bambi beside him. Their hands touched, a silent acknowledgement of both pain and possibility. No words were needed. They had said everything in the confrontation, the confessions, and the heartbreak. What remained now was the slow, deliberate work of rebuilding, of healing, of proving that mistakes didn't have to define them forever. The children's laughter echoed faintly from another room, a reminder of the life they still had, the bond that no money or betrayal could ever fully erase. Scrappy's gaze softened as he looked at them, a renewed sense of purpose filling his chest. Every choice he made from this moment forward would matter. Every day would be a test of sincerity, of commitment, of love. Bambi finally spoke, her voice gentle, tinged with weariness. We have a long road ahead, she said. It won't be easy. We'll stumble. We'll fight. But maybe we can find our way back, step by step. Scrappy nodded, feeling a mixture of relief, determination, and humility. I'll do whatever it takes, he replied softly. Not just for me, not just for us, but for our family. I won't let this define us. I'll fight for us, every day. The room remained quiet for a long moment. The past had left scars, visible and invisible, but for the first time, hope began to outweigh despair. They had faced the truth, endured the consequences, and emerged still standing, still capable of love, still capable of rebuilding. Outside, the world continued, unaware of the quiet resolve within these walls. But inside, a family began to stitch itself back together, one careful, intentional act at a time. Trust would not return overnight. Forgiveness would not come easily. But the first step, the most important step, had been taken. As the camera slowly panned away, capturing the fragile piece of the room, the audience understood, life would never be the same again, but perhaps it could be better, stronger, more honest, more real. The journey of Scrappy and Bambi, of their love, their family, and their redemption, had only just begun. And though the road would be long, one thing was certain: they had chosen to face it together. Fade out.